American and white and human become synonyms? That why can't we just treat each other as human beings? To me, when I hear it from a white person, it means why can't we all just pretend to be white people? I'll pretend you're a white person, and then you can pretend to be white. Why don't you eat what I eat? Why don't you drink what I drink? Why don't you think like I think? Why don't you feel like I feel? God damn it, I'm so sick and goddamn tired of hearing about that. I'm sick of that. That's what it means to be human being to me. That's what it means to be white. That's what it means to be American. Why don't you come the hell over here? That's what I hear every goddamn day. And you know that I can't come over there. You know that this skin and that this hair and that this way to that talk and that I think and I feel will never, ever get included because I'm unpalatable to this goddamn nation. I'm unpalatable. You cannot swallow me. You cannot taste me. You cannot feel me because you don't want to. You think that you can survive without me, but you can't, man. You think that, hey, it'll all be fine when we just treat each other like human beings. And what that says to me is don't be yourself. Be like me. Keep me comfortable. Connect where I'm ready to connect. Come out to my place. Or maybe I'll come down and get some artifacts from your place. That is bullshit.
Oh, hello, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who teach in Ruel. Salutations to you brothers in the Howards and Baways. Salutations also goes out to you brothers and few sisters that tune in to listen and learn. The rest of the hopeful elect. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Malak from the Diligent Soldier Camp here in Boston, Mass. As always, I pray this lesson be edifying to the elect. Okay, the title of this lesson is going to be What It's Like Being Jake in Babylon. What it's like being a Jake in Babylon, right? And a perfect example of that is what you see on the screen, man. You know, this brother right here, you know, is basically done with the bullshit. You know, I don't know when this was filmed, recorded, and I don't know who the man is that's talking, the Jake that's talking. He's clearly a Jake, whether it's Judai or Benjamin, Gad, Simeon, you know, it's anybody's guess, but definitely a Jake by the way he's expressing himself. And what Jake just don't understand or know or fails to realize is that he's in captivity. He's behind enemy lines, man. Okay? And we are yet to this day in our captivity. And not only that, but these curses are not entirely lifted off of us, right? And so, you know, first and foremost, what inspired this lesson was, you know, this, you know, the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. First and foremost, after watching this or listening to this guy on Instagram, I just said, man, you know, this makes a lot of sense to make a lesson out of it, and you know, to bring out some edifying scriptures that will help you know, you brothers and sisters out there understand more of why we are where we are, right? As far as how we are treated here in Babylon, how we are thought of, right? And you know, this Jake on the screen just doesn't know that, you know. I perceive he doesn't, you know, because of the way he's expressing himself, you know, and it's almost like he's it's almost like he eventually would like to see these devils accept us and treat us fairly, but it's physically impossible, right? Because these devils were designed, programmed, created to be exactly how they are right now, lacking empathy for us. The brother had mentioned the word. Let me just get it real quick because I don't want to mispronounce it too bad. Impalpable, right? Which goes into not easily comprehended. You know, they speak lofty concerning oppression because they can't fathom nor begin to understand how it feels to be a Jake in Babylon, how it feels to be a Jake and live in Babylon, work in Babylon, right? And basically be surviving this whole time. They just don't, you know, I believe they don't care, you know. And this Jake, though, he made a good argument as far as like expressing himself. The lack of expression on the Edomite that was in front of him looked like an Edomite. You know, at first he was laughing, and he only laughed because the other Edomite-looking guy with the curly hair started laughing. You know, and laughter's a little infectious, I think is the word. But still, you know, it didn't look genuine. And then after the Jake got upset, you know, and started getting a little more aggressive or hostile or whatever, you know, because you know that's how Esau will look at him or describe him. Anyways, but once he did that, he got like that, or you know, the Edomite changed his facial expression right away, and it went to a, you know, kind of a blank stare, but an almost, I can't begin to give a shit about what you're saying, man, because, you know, they just don't care, man. You know, I forget the lady's name. She asked a classroom full of white people if they were willing to change their life, right, for so-called black people in America, and none of them raised their hands. None of them even considered participating, even though it was just a question, right? But that's the last thing in their mind, to ever be treated like Jake gets treated here, man. Okay. Let's get some scriptures. The first one I want to bring out is Deuteronomy 28, and it goes to show you that, you know, we inherited these curses, man. We went off. If you know the story, you read the scriptures, you will know that Israel went off, and the Lord punished us. The Father punished His children. Okay, and this is one of the curses, right? In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 49, it says, Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle lieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young, right? And we see how these Edomites look at us, man. Even when we were younger, we could perceive that, you know, they were wicked, man, and evil, and it wasn't so much because they had guns on their side, or, you know, bright lights and loud sirens when they rolled up to your neighborhood. It was more because of that facial expression that it's almost like, you know, I hate these niggas, you know, and that I caught on to very, very early, you know, when I was younger, you know. And also I see examples of verse 50, man, from when as far as I could think back, man, you know, like I was young watching the Cops, an episode on Cops one time, and older Jake lady, I think it was a Judite, a lady was being pulled over for driving too slow and on a road or on a highway. And the dude cuffed her, the cop cuffed her and brought her back to his cruiser. But just the way he was walking her was really like pulling her, man. And you could tell that the sister was older and frail, you know what I mean? Took her time to walk, and this nigga's just pulling her like she ain't shit, you know, having no regards for the elderly. And we know how they treat the young, right? An example of that is, you know, the 50,000 children that they have no idea where they are, that were actually left here after their parents were deported back to Mexico and other places in South and Central America, right? That would have never happened if it was 50,000 Edomite children. Never. I mean, there's a reason why in the book of Sirach it says, he who is evil to himself, to who shall he do good? The answer being to no one, because Esau will shit on his own too. He will shit on his own mother and sell her up the river for the low, right? But for the most part, especially now in these days, they're being careful. They're promoting having children. They're trying to bring back their what's the word? Oh man, basically they're fake science, there we go, they're pseudoscience that supposedly proves that they're more superior, trying to use basically racist science, and that's what they're bringing back. But nonetheless, man, verse 50, a nation of fear countenance which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young, because these niggas just don't give a fuck about Jake, man. And that brother on the video expressing himself, man, being so upset, rightfully so, doesn't realize that, man. He doesn't realize that he's behind enemy lines, that he's going through these curses, right? He inherited these curses, and we're basically prisoners, man. Prisoners of war, because the Lord has problems with Esau, man. Has a lot of smoke with Esau, This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? And, listening to this brother, it almost sounds like he wants Esau to treat us better, right? And that mentality comes from basically not knowing scriptures, not knowing who he is, not knowing who his enemy is, right? Because what else does Esau have to do to our people for our people to realize that it ain't never gonna get better? It's never going to be them actually accepting us and loving us as they love themselves, right? It'll never be like that. That's not the Lord's plan, okay? But here in the scriptures it tells you, never trust thine enemy, Sirach 12 and 10, right? Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Verse 11 says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, right? Like a magnifying glass. You gotta be very wary about this thing and put the magnifying glass on him. Why? Because of this. And thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away, man. This man is the devil. He was designed to be the devil, okay? A deceiver, a liar, a slanderer, an attacker. All these things all those words, those adjectives is exactly what describes Esau, man, to the T, okay? And unfortunately, man, that man is talking to a brick wall. You can see it, because even though he laughs at one point, he gets serious again when the brother starts expressing himself. Now, one could argue that he was just letting him talk, and he didn't want to be smiling in his face, but this is how Esau does, man. He's very subtle, and he knows how to be very fucking fake, all right? And like I said earlier, what else does Esau have to do for Jake to realize it? You run this nigga's background, and all it is murder, rape, pillaging of people, taking their identities, and they're doing it to this same day. And as a matter of fact, he does all that with a gun, okay, and with other forms of or other tactics, I should say, to get, you know, his whatever it is that he wants, right? And this man was blessed with the sword, man. Okay, so it's not hard to tell that this is who we're dealing with, man. Okay, this is Psalms 58:4. Their poison is like the poison of of a serpent, man. No doubt it is, right? It says they are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, man. You know, and this is why I said that this man is just talking to a brick wall, because that nigga don't care, you know. And if he does, he can't do shit about it, which will have him go, you know, reside back to his old way of thinking, the way he always thought of so-called blacks and Hispanics, man. Right? So he could possibly, you know, sit there and suffer this brother to talk to him about his oppression, you know, how fucked up he feels, and all those facts that he was telling them, you know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is that once he gets up and leaves, man, you know, that pride starts making him feel better again, because he knows we're not the same, and he doesn't have to care, you know. That's just how Babylon is set up. That's how the Lord set this whole thing up. Okay, these people are our enemy, man, and they forever will be until the Lord takes them out, because that's exactly how the Lord wanted it to be between us. That animosity, that perpetual hate that the scriptures speak about, that Esau himself has been pushing, man, everlasting, right? This is Ecclesiastes 7:7. It says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. Right, man. You know, oppression is making this man, you know, to the point of losing his mind. You know, you could look at it as being angry, because a lot of us are angry, but you know, this oppression, man, has changed our people, man. You know, has traumatized our people to the point where, you know, you got Jakes that want to save Esau. That's a form of fucking mental illness right there. You know, that's a form of being mad, being crazy. How you want to save the people that want nothing or wish nothing but death on you, man? That wish that you wasn't even around, that you'll be eradicated. You know, what's her name? Sandra. Oh man, I forget her name. Some bad with names, but basically the chick that's related to Billy Gates of Hell, if I'm not mistaken. Sandra. Oh man, probably come back to me later. But anyways, she said that black people have to be eradicated, or black people are like weeds and should be eradicated, man. And you know, you don't hear nobody canceling that bitch ever. As a matter of fact, they're picking up where she left off, man. And that's something that's always been going on, you know. But you got Jake trying to come in with these wayward doctrines, these unsound doctrines and teachings, man, to save these devils. And these devils don't even care about the Lord. They hate Yahweh. They hate the Father. You know what I'm saying? And His Son. You know. But nonetheless, the scriptures tell you, man, that oppression definitely makes a wise man. You know, and I will call this man, the way he was expressing himself, the words that he was using, the brother definitely seems like he's wise, right? As far as the world goes, or looks at somebody wise. But you know, all that wisdom, and he fails to see that Esau will never look at him equally, man. Never in his life, right? But just because he does that, doesn't mean that we have to pick up arms, you know, because there really isn't another way. This man has to be taken out. But the thing about it is that it's not for us to do it, right? This is why things like Antifa Organizations like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, what you call the other ones, man? The Black Panther Party, you know, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. None of these things work. None of these fucking marches work. All they do is basically push the same narrative as always, man. You know, and not to mention the fact that all these groups, whether they were started grassroots or by even some type of political person, they all are basically being controlled, man. You know, which is why Jake never gets out of hand. Which is why the scripture says, "Who shall rouse him up?" That, you know, the Lord is gonna rouse up Jake, man. So-called black people, first and foremost. So the so-called black man, and once he does, once the so-called black man, you know, stands up and starts, you know, acting according to how the Lord rouses him up, the rest of the tribes will do the same, right? But that's, you know, as the scripture says, there's a time and place for everything. Right now, man, you know, we have to just suffer these things, you know, until the Lord starts making his move, right? Ephesians 4:26 says, "Be ye angry and sin not." All right? Be angry, but don't sin. You know? Don't go murdering these niggas. Don't go starting a plot, you know what I'm saying, and do evil, because it's not our place. It's not our place unless the Lord puts that spirit of vengeance on a Jake to go after a particular person. You know, it's just not our place, man. Right? No matter how mad this man is, no matter how much he wants to stand up and start strangling curly across the street from him, across from where he's sitting, he shouldn't be doing that. He shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? And he can't, you know? And he really can't. He knows he can't. He's wise enough to know that he can't, man. Let me see something. I'll end it off with this last one. This is Zephaniah 3:8. It says, "Therefore wait ye upon me." Right? It's the Lord speaking. Saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour out upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy, man. Okay? The Lord, you know, I've been talking about Esau this whole time, but that confederacy that he made with all these other nations still stand. It's still going right now till the Lord put an end to that. Which is why he's saying that he's going to gather up the nations, man. You know? He's going to destroy them for us, man. And as the scripture says, you know, after the Lord Yahushua gets his licks, you know, the scriptures say that we're the Lord's battle axe, man. You know what I mean? Right now, our only weapon is, our only part in this warfare is bringing out the truth, doing the work, and that's it. Edifying the flock of the Lord, edifying the elect of the Lord, and that's it. Patiently enduring, patiently waiting, all right, for the Lord, which is why it's saying, "Therefore wait ye upon me," saith Yahweh. Okay, so, hey man, you know, as this brother made a lot of good points, but Esau don't give a damn, and he's never gonna give a damn. And the only way we get out of this oppression that's making this man, and not only this man, all of us too, here in this truth, angry and borderline, you know, mad. The only thing that could suffice that is the Lord coming back, man, and basically fighting for us and redeeming us, man. So, hey, man, I pray that this lesson was edifying. In closing, I want to give all honors and praises to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahara Kakodash. I also want to give double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who teach and who will. Salutations to you brothers in the house and byways and hedges. Salutations also and always goes out to you brothers and few sisters that tune in to listen and learn. To all you I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, and Ababa Ball.